Hey everyone, Wolf Lord Rho here. Today we're discussing 5 minor storylines that I would love to see developed for the future. General spoiler warning to begin, as the events we're discussing today are from across the Warhammer 40k universe, so you have been warned. But with that said, let's just jump straight in. Now, throughout the universe of 40k, there are countless hints, plot threads and narratives that are all left with that tease of the future, ones we never know if we're going to see more of or not. While we get to see the mainline narratives unwind, there's often many others that get forgotten, or simply just not developed as we initially hoped they'd be. And well, today I thought it'd be fun to discuss 5 of those I'm really hoping to see more of, whether it's developed into its own full-on story or simply brought up again within the larger narrative. Now, I'm sure and I know there's a bunch that I will not be mentioning today. I had to settle somewhere, so I decided on just 5. We are sticking to the current timeline, so we are not discussing Great Crusade or Horus Heresy eras here. We can do those maybe another day. And I have intentionally stayed away from what I'm classifying as more the main stories out there, which all but certainly will be developed, such as Guilliman's past with the Unremembered Empire, the Star Child theory and the Emperor, and even Call's investigation into Blackstone. However, with all that out the way, let's waste no more time and begin with number 1. And Belisarius Call's use of Traitor Geneseed. Now, this is of course a tease that's very much been referenced within the mainline narrative, with Call infuriating Guilliman with his repeated requests within the Dark Imperium trilogy, his desire to use Traitor Geneseed to make fresh chapters. However, I am including it here as it's one that I think was more done as a tease and a wink to the fans than is really likely to be a story moving forward, as it certainly looks like Belisarius's narrative appears to be focused now on the Necrons. However, I would just love for this to be continued, really for the first time. Show us a confirmed Traitor Geneseed Loyalist chapter. Yes, we've had them teased over the years. Yes, we've had them confirmed outside of the lore, but here, with the Ultima founding and Belisarius Call, we have the opportunity for a whole swathe of chapters to be revealed as Traitor Geneseed founded. It would be an amazing subplot going forward, and we have the perfect prototype already out there with the Sons of the Phoenix chapter. The not-so Sons of Rogel Dawn. Obviously, the confirmation of Call's activities to Guilliman would immediately become the main storyline out there, as this would immediately result in Guilliman having to deal with Belisarius, which not only is not easily done, but also has lore-wide repercussions. So I completely get why perhaps these kind of teases will remain just that. Having the truth exposed of Belisarius's actions really opens a massive can of worms that are not easily wrapped up. But hey, Guilliman has confirmed his doubts regarding Call's activities. So could we one day see Guilliman investigating it, dispatching his own private inquisitor? He's done it before, so I wouldn't rule it out. Off the books and only reporting to Guilliman? Now that I would love to read. Again, while it is extremely unlikely we will ever see any real development into this narrative, it would undoubtedly be fascinating. Moving on to number 2, the Drukhari Civil War. Now this one is much more realistic. And if you watched our Enemies of the Imperium week last week, you would have seen us discuss the current situation of the Drukhari somewhat already. how Commorragh is currently locked within the grips of a civil war. Now, for all this gets referred to in the Drukhari Codex, I would love to see this event get some more attention. And this is from someone who's not even a real Drukhari fan. Commorragh is such an important place within the 40k universe. It predates the fall of the Eldar Empire. It is at the centre of the Webway. And it's home to one of the most powerful people in all of the lore, in Supreme Overlord Vect. We see it make appearances from time to time within other people's stories, but I really feel a place such as Commorragh deserves to be the focus of its own attention. Now, this civil war was actually instigated by Vect, secretly of course, in order to eradicate the Ynnari cult from Commorragh, which, as elsewhere within the Eldari race, has expanded very rapidly. Being able to see and follow this conflict would really help invigorate the Ynnari cause. Even if they lost, which I think they should, it would help to unveil the struggle the Ynnari are going through. One quite different than their interactions with the craft worlds. It would give us an insight into how the everyday Drukhari feel about Ynnead, why they have decided it's the better path, and how they still interact with their fellow kin. I freely admit, for all of that, I'd love to see more of the Drukhari Civil War, simply as an excuse to see Vect doing what he does best: scheming, manipulating, and acquiring power. The only real information I've read about him is generally within the codexes, so the thought of seeing him within a storyline would be great. Next up we have the Beacon of Imperium Nihilus. Now, this one comes from one of my favourite stories, Shroud of Night, and it's one I've mentioned a few times over the years on the channel. Essentially, it followed the events of an Alpha Legion warband coming to grips with life within the new Imperium Nihilus. Through the events of the story, they are given the task of corrupting a beacon upon an imperial world known as Sedreka, a mini Astronomicon if you will. And spoiler warning, that beacon turned out to be a person, glowing with the light of the Emperor. And as intriguing as that is, the ending was even better, as the God Emperor himself instructed Celestine to let the Alpha Legion warband take it. And well, that's where it left off, with the Alpha Legion warband now in possession of this beacon. I freely admit there could be a short story out there somewhere continuing the narrative that I don't know about. However, until I find that out, that's where the narrative has left off. And this for me is one of the most tantalizing open storylines out there. We have an Alpha Legion warband somewhere amid the darkness of Imperium Nihilus, essentially with a Saint of the Emperor within their possession, with seemingly the God Emperor himself's permission. Now, no, perhaps it's not that black and white, as it was that, or allow it to be destroyed by Khorne's forces. But still, the Emperor doesn't do anything without reason. And this just makes your mind fire with possibilities, or at least it does for me. Why did the Emperor want the Alpha Legion to take the beacon? Why was that the better option? Could we literally be seeing a rogue Astronomicon of sorts within Imperium Nihilus? Where is it all going to go? Could we see more Emperor involvement regarding the Alpha Legion? Could it all lead to a certain twin Primarch? Who knows, probably not, but it's a fascinating narrative that works beautifully in the wider setting, and one that I really hope gets revisited. Next we have maybe a fairly similar one here, with the Anchorite of Almace. Now this comes from the Space Marine conquest novel Apocalypse, and here Guilliman tasked a force of Imperial Fists, White Scars and Raven Guard to defend an ecclesiarchy world from Wordbearer invasion. And through those events it is revealed the world has a deep secret, named the Anchorite. Sealed and locked away within a secret cell, the Anchorite was and is a loyalist Wordbearer. This was a Wordbearer who saw the light, or the madness of the heresy, during the events of Calth. Realizing the sheer tragedy of fighting brother legions, the Anchorite surrendered to the Ultramarine forces. From there, rather than killing the Marine, Guilliman spared his life, and he has been kept within his cell upon Almace, secret ever since. The Anchorite transcribed the pages of the fabled Book of Lorgar, the bedrock of the future ecclesiarchy. The fact that he still exists is still kept in secret upon an ecclesiarchy world, and that Guilliman not only knows about it, but that he sent forces specifically for its defense. Now that is a narrative that surely needs to be continued. I think we'll definitely have to discuss it more in depth soon, because it's one of the most fascinating things within the Grimdark currently for me, and one that I really think we could see more of in the future. Maybe we'll discuss that later in the week. But moving on, finally, number 5, the Inquisition's pettiness against the chapters of the Astartes. So this one is a bit more of a theme than maybe a particular narrative, but it's really something that should continue to be highlighted for me. This kind of growing animosity amongst the Imperium's defenders adds that much needed element of trepidation and suspicion. It adds that feeling of growing tension behind the scenes. We have seen the Inquisition's actions lead to war against the Wolves of Fenris. We have seen their petulant execution of the Celestial Lion's chapter master lead to a virtual declaration of war from them and the Emperor's Spear's chapter. With the rise of chaos now, these kind of conflicts against the Inquisition, you'd expect, will become more frequent than ever, as the Inquisition desperately continues their war on eradicating that knowledge, trying to keep the existence of the ruinous powers secret. With this intention, the Inquisition is going to have to keep making and taking more drastic action, and this is only going to lead to more conflict with the Astartes chapters. I would love to see the Inquisition continue its ridiculous actions of retaliation, continue that selfish, arrogant notion of being a power unto themselves. Yes, in reality they are, but it's quite clearly gone to their heads. Just keep building that narrative until it builds to a point it really feels like things are about to explode. Until maybe the Inquisition picks that one fight too many, assassinating someone who is far more visible than, say, the Celestial Lion's chapter master. Some form of action or event that too many people take notice of, that perhaps Guilliman himself notices and disagrees with. Of course, it's extremely unlikely it would ever lead to a true-scale civil war. However, the prospect of that, the feeling of being on the cusp of it, that could be an absolutely thrilling ride, and one that is realistically possible. However, as always everyone, what do you think? If you had to pick a minor storyline that could be expanded on for the future, what would it be? Would you choose one of the storylines that I've chosen? Or maybe would you choose something else? if you had to choose one that wasn't part of the current mainstream? Or maybe do you feel there are better options out there? As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below, I love to read them. Huge thank you to all my subscribers, your support truly means a lot to me, it really does. If you're new, please consider subscribing to help the channel grow, and if you enjoyed this particular vid then why not drop a like on it too. With that said, I am off, and I'll see you all again real soon.